So hi everybody, thanks for coming tonight. Tonight we're here for a discussion on affordable housing, but we also have some neighborhood updates and our usual, some of our usual features, including small business feature, which this week, this time actually features nonprofit. But let's get going. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Kate. I'm the Executive Director of the Holy Park Development Council. This is my colleague Eladio. You can thank Eladio for bringing snacks tonight. And please do not be shy about the snacks. All right, so some things. Algunos que necesitan interpretación. Okay. So we're going to start with some neighborhood updates, and then we're going to have our small business moment, and then our guest speaker about affordable housing, and then talk about some upcoming events in the neighborhood. So this picture here, because we try to have a fun photo, this is the little library in front of Marshfield Courts, which is made out of old skateboard parts. And in addition to books, they also keep skateboard parts in there for spares for people who visit the park. All right. So some things going on around here. Here's our big news. We won a $200,000 grant for public art on 35th Street.
Great.
And we're going to make a press announcement in the near future, but I'm telling you guys first. And so with that money, our intention is to paint 35th Street. So you might have been to some of our events in the last couple of months where we've been asking people about like, hey, what colors do you like? What kind of theme should we have in public art? What do you think about like this thing versus this thing? Like what's easy to read for signage, those kinds of things. And so that's all going to play into this. So we've been doing that kind of leading up to these applications that we've made for funding. So we applied for 4 grants. This is the first one to come in with the result. So looking good so far. We have 19 artists and 17 businesses that are interested. And between now and the end of the year, we'll be firming up exactly who is going to participate in that program. And then over the winter, we'll start to match artists with locations and actually start designing stuff. It won't just be murals, it'll also include street furniture, so things like benches and bike racks and bollards. And so we're talking about these functional objects that we do need, but we also want to make them fun. So that is the purpose of the grant, and we will let you know as we hear more about that. Marshfield Court, so the skate park on 35th Street has been listed for sale. Applications closed about 10 days ago, something like that. We have teamed up with Space, who holds title to the play garden just next door here, so they're familiar to us. And the guys who built and maintain the skate park, we've teamed up together to apply to buy it. And so now we wait, but because it is an existing use that's been well maintained, and they've got a track record over 5 years now of like, hey, we can really take care of this thing, and we've been doing it. We think our odds are pretty good. So sometime next year, we'll see what the city decides. The way I also want to alleviate fears, the way that they are selling it, it can only be used for green space. So on the off chance that we don't get it, it can only be used for open space in the way that it's being sold. Damen Silos, if you've looked out there lately, this picture was taken on Monday, and so this is the last of it. And there's been a lot of wrecking ball action this week. We're a little behind getting we've been taking photos at least once, often twice a week, and getting them on our website. We're a little behind, but just know that it's coming. So if any of you are interested for any reason in like kind of that track record of how did this go, because I know like a lot of artistic types have been interested in that. We have continued to take those pictures, even if they're not all up there yet. You want to talk about this one?
Yeah, so if you have heard, the lot next to Park 571, which is that park across the river with the boathouse, there's an empty vacant lot next to it owned by People's Gas. So that's currently a Superfund site, so it means it's extra contaminated. And People's Gas is going to start doing an environmental cleanup of the site this year. And we expect to be done with that in about 1.5 years. We have talked to the older people, the state reps, about helping us acquire that lot to make a green space so that we could expand the park. Idea is that we capture it as green space so that it doesn't become another warehouse, another asphalt plants, or any other kind of polluting industry or business. The alderwoman, Nicole B, for that area has already said that she would help make that happen. Right, ideally with TIF funds or something else. We're also speaking with other land conservation organizations to see if they can help us acquire the lot. But the idea is to capture it, turn it into green space, expand the park. We already had an initial engagement event with the folks who live in the area to see what they would like to see in the future park, so that we can then put together some drawings of what it could be, and then we can use that to let folks know this is what it could be, so that we can then apply for grants, look for money, and just get into the head of folks that this is going to be a park, it's going to be green space. We're not going to let it be a warehouse or anything of those reasons. In the future, we'll be rolling out other community engagement stuff for everyone else to tell us what they would like to see in that space. So more to come on that as well. So as things progress, we'll let you know. It'll be a while before it's done and cleaned up, but the plan is for it to be cleaned up to the ideally highest standards so that it can be green space.
Eladio, and this is also part of the project we've had going around having a riverfront path.
Yes, so this connects to the river, for the framework project that we worked on and published, of creating a continuous path along the river from Western to Bingtown Park. So when this turns over, even if it does worst case scenario become a warehouse, the city has standards that require anyone who builds on the river to build a public walking path. So even if it is a warehouse or an asphalt plant or whatever it becomes, we will have a path. We just want it all to be green space versus just a 30-foot path.
We've also had some questions about who is we, so I want to be clear, MPDC is not trying to buy this lot, this is gonna be millions. What instead we're trying to do is hustle all the money and the public will to make sure that a public entity has the cash and the political will to buy this lot. So it will ultimately either be purchased by a city entity, which could be the park, ideally the park district, but it could be another city entity, or a public land trust that is in the business of holding things for public space. All right, so missing middle development. So this is the sale of city property exclusively for the purpose of building multifamily housing. So McKinley Park has 7 city-owned lots plus the clock tower. Everything except the clock tower is actually up for sale this year. So that includes like Marshfield Courts and 2 lots that are totally unbuildable, and then these guys. So the bids on this closed on Monday, and we talked to several developers who were interested in that. We did write a letter for the one that we thought had hit the most accessible price point for the most people. This is at Western and 34th, so just where most of us think it's Brighton Park, but technically the rail line and not Western is actually the boundary. And the proposals, there was a range of proposals that included both row homes and anywhere from 2 to 6 flats. These are all going to be sold. They will not be rentals, although some of them, if you're selling a 2-flat, obviously the buyer may have a tenant, so they could get some rentals out of it, but they are being purposed as for sale at a subsidized rate for the homeowner. And we'll see what they pick.
If you have questions about that afterwards, get out of those here as part of the development team that has put in an application. So if you guys have questions about audience, of course, you guys.
Also tomorrow night, would really encourage you guys to attend another they're calling it a public meeting. We've asked them to say when it's an open house to say that it's an open house. And when the reason that's important is if you can't be there right at 4:30, you are not going to miss it. It is okay to go after work whenever you can get there after work, and you will still be able to participate. So you might remember the Better Streets for Buses. Like a while back, there were some meetings at the field house talking about, hey, what could we do to make bus service better? Now they're looking at the street and the actual bus stops. So there's going to be a meeting about the Western bus line and several others, but the Western's the one that comes from McKinley Park at the Gage Park Field House tomorrow night. And that's with the Department of Transportation and CTA working together. We saw a little bit of a preview of what they're gonna offer, and they're gonna have like a lot of data about traffic safety and also some like, how would you like your bus stop to be nicer? For example, do you want heat? Do you want more bus shelters? Do you want Wi-Fi? You know, we're not gonna get everything, but there's gonna be stuff like that. And then there's also gonna be conversation about the streetscaping, like where, you know, which of these models would you feel safest using? And that's gonna be a consideration. And we especially wanna make sure that McKinley Park is represented because our little stretch of Western is just weird, right? Because you have the avenue and the boulevard and the twisty turn leaving Pilsen and the bridge that needs a lot of help. So for all of those reasons, and the new bike lanes, but the bike lanes don't go all the way. So like for all of those reasons, we really want to make sure that our people are at this meeting to talk about how should that bus work in the future. Questions on that? And then what have we been up to besides public art? Public art at the state park. We've also been continuing to work mapping with the National Park Service. So like Liz was talking about earlier for our infrastructure plan for the riverfront, we're now working on the signage plan to get everybody to and from the river and show where those access points are, as well as to make it easier to navigate to community assets on foot or by bike. So Eladio and I have been out taking pictures of like 200 intersections or something and figuring out where you can put signage at each of those intersections and transit stops. Yeah, so if you've seen the crazy people out there taking pictures of the street, that's us, and this is what it's from. But we're gonna be like nearly finalizing these things about what we're gonna propose. And so as we have more things for you guys to react to, we'll be scheduling that probably after the holidays. You wanna add anything to that?
I know, like he said, the idea is to, at some point, put up signage to point people to things in the neighborhood that we care about. Currently, the only signage points you to like White Sox parking. Nothing points you to the park or to the restaurants or the library.
Yeah.
Yeah, the idea is to
Yeah.
keep people here in the neighborhood versus send them away.
And you're making a really important point that should, huh?
So we're bringing the socks to McKinley Park.
Well, yeah. I mean, don't you think more Sox fans should have dinner on 35th Street? Yeah. So, but yeah, this started out as getting people to the river. Then everybody started looking at, we were like, wait a minute, we actually want people to come down to our commercial corridor and spend money. How do you get them here? So both ways. So we're looking at, yes, I should go both ways.
I was wondering,
Yeah.
the McKinley Park sign in front of 7-Eleven, who designed that?
I have no idea.
I believe
The
that's
7-Eleven.
That's the, whoever owns the,
Oh,
the one where that's missing the park.
yes. I was wondering why that oversight happened, but I guess it wasn't you guys.
No, it's-
Definitely not.
It said McKinley Park, but the letter said.
Oh.
One at a time.
One at a time.
Right. Yeah. So when we put up signage, we'll make sure you can't disable it.
Yes.
All right, so, yeah, any questions about any of the updates? Happy to take them or, now or offline. And we'll do that while Patrick gets set up. We're gonna invite Patrick, forward for our small business movement
Cool,
about
yeah.
Aquinas.
I'm super
Or
easy to
Aquinas.
set up tonight. Hi, everyone. My name is Patrick Santoro. Thank you to Kate and Eladio for inviting me to talk a little bit about this really wonderful organization that you may or may not know about. Aquinas is on 35th Street, just 2 blocks east of here, at the corner of Wood and 35th. We were founded 30 years ago as a literacy center where we teach mostly immigrants English. Very fulfilling work. Recently, we have broadened our mission to speak to the sort of state of affairs of the world, the country right now. We are trying to be an adult education hub. So beyond literacy, we have now implemented a new program called the McKinley Park Resilient Community Initiative. I am the program director for this initiative, and it's been really wonderful so far. We're about 3 months into this new world at Aquinas, where we're teaching the community about skills that will not only allow them to survive, but to thrive. In particular, last night we just ended a 3-week series on immigrant rights and community safety. Upcoming next month, we have a 3-week workshop on caring for ourselves together in community. So how can we take care of ourselves, but how can we also support one another? We're doing things with the arts now, with storytelling, expanding into the visual arts as well, trying to give the residents of McKinley Park and the surrounding areas a place to come, be in community, and learn really important skills. Some of the other things we have ahead of us for the next year are courses in digital literacy, financial literacy, mental health, health literacy, things that we need to be talking about right now. And so I'm really proud of the work that we're doing at Aquinas. I've only been there about 3 months, but I was a tutor there much longer, which is to say, I think it looks like most speak English in the room, maybe native speakers mostly. We're also looking for tutors. This is incredibly gratifying work. You get to work one-on-one with a student who's learning English, and you meet once a week for 90 minutes. It really makes me feel good, because it makes me feel like I'm doing some good for someone else in the world. So I can't impress enough that this is important work doing at Aquinas. And not a lot of people know about who we are, what we do. And so in this recent few months, we are trying to outreach more. We're trying to connect with everyone, not just non-English speakers, but everyone, because we're a community and we're in this together. So I would invite you to stop on by Aquinas at some point, chat with me today. I'm happy to give you more information. Get involved. This is life-sustaining work, and we're really proud of what's on the horizon at Aquinas. Any questions about Aquinas, what we do, how you might get involved? Cool. 2 blocks that way if you need anything. Yeah.
What like skills, if any, can be to be a tutor?
Great question. As a tutor originally, while I had a degree in teaching English as a foreign language, we don't anticipate that the tutors will have that. So we offer a training on a Saturday, which gives you the sort of foundation of how to teach someone the English language. And then you do 3 hours of observation, watching another tutor and a student interact. And then after those 3 hours, then you have your own student. So it's pretty low prep. I mean, it is a 6-hour Saturday and then 3 additional hours. But again, I can't emphasize enough just how fulfilling this work really is. And you know, when you're working with a student who's learning English with you in an hour, and they know words they didn't know 60 minutes before, that's instant payoff, right? You can see what you're doing as an educator come to life immediately. It's really, really great work. And again, I encourage those of you who aren't seeking English language learning to come be a part of our organization, whether you want to tutor or whether you want to come to the immigrant rights workshop or caring for ourselves in community workshop. We're all in this together. Yeah.
Are there any specific goals that tutors work towards with like students other than like language mastery, but like job training, that kind of thing?
Good question. Part of what we want to do is to offer courses in starting your own business, in leadership. So that's on the horizon. What's important to note is you'll be working from a set curriculum, so it's not like you have to create anything. We have a series of books that students test in at different levels, so all of the curriculum is really straightforward. That said, you aren't just a tutor, you do become a mentor, and you develop a relationship with your student. And you can find ways to offer insights about leadership and mentoring beyond language learning. That's incredibly rewarding. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, well, come on down and see us sometimes. It's just 2 blocks, right? And we have a great space and we welcome you. Thank you again, Kate, and thank you, Eladia, for having me here tonight. It's good to be here with you all.
So I'm now going to bring up Letty, our guest speaker tonight, to talk about affordable housing. All right.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Letty Valencia. I am an affordable housing developer at IFF. IFF is a community development financial institution. In other words, we're a bank that lends to nonprofits. We also offer real estate services, and I'm part of the development team that builds affordable housing. We have built over 300 units all across Chicago area, west suburbs, and currently in south suburbs. So IFF is across the Midwest.
And besides for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you just let me know.
So, our mission is to help nonprofits thrive. And these are just some stats on the loans that we have provided. We are also very present in the early education space. My department, Home First, is a full development department that focuses on affordable housing for people with disabilities. And thank you. And I'm here to speak about and try to reframe the affordable housing, right? When you think about affordable housing, like where does your mind go, right? And in reality, affordable housing is just being able to pay only 30% of what you make for your housing costs. That's all it means. So if you're making $50,000 a year, just an example, you should only be paying $15,000 of that. That is going to housing. So if you're paying anything above that, it's not affordable. And that is all that means. So I can help you do the math, or you can do it for yourself to determine that. I think my counterpart does a really good job in keeping homes affordable in this area. But that is really what affordable housing means. And I do want to keep this interactive, and as developers, we tend to use a lot of acronyms. So please raise your hand if you don't understand if I throw in an acronym in there. But basically, a lot of the projects that we build, we do get our funding from low-income housing tax credits, which are awarded. Like it's very hard to get affordable housing tax credits. We have successfully gotten them for the past 10 years. But depending on the capital stack and where your funding is coming from, that's gonna determine the rents for your development. So a lot of the rents are set by HUD. And a lot of the programs that we do at IFFR, we do follow the HUD, these HUD tables. So I just pulled some of your zip codes here and McKinley, and so these are what we consider fair market rents in your area. So you can go on the HUD website and look at compare the different rents. But this is what would be considered affordable. So nobody should be paying more than that, depending on your income.
60609 is this side of River Street. 60608 is that side of River Street. Just
What street?
35th Street. So
35th.
we're here on
Okay.
35th.
We're in
Yeah,
609 now.
Yeah.
Across the street.
Walgreens is
Here at
60608.
606.
And this has a huge impact on the way this plays out, because 60608 includes part of Pilsen, which has significantly gentrified, and 60609 is most of back of the yards.
Interesting.
So we get, so obviously, there's not an actual $300 a month difference in rents just because you cross the street. But if you leave the neighborhood in other directions, the difference is much greater.
Absolutely, yeah. Did you have a
Yes,
question?
I also wanted to know how the numbers for efficiency units are calculated, because in my experience searching for housing in both of these zip codes over the past 4 years, there's not that many efficiency units that
Yeah, so HUD, you see here, they added the efficiency units, so it's just based on data they're collecting. So HUD, really focuses on collecting all this data for each individual zip code. So I'm not sure how they're finding them.
Yeah.
And what this is, it's just defining what affordable is in this zip code based on like medium, household and gross income.
Yeah,
Correct.
and we'll show those numbers in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had it.
Yeah.
I would say for data sources, really what HUD is focusing or basing this off of is what's readily available out there, which is more often than not, like MLS, which is what realtors use to list property, and like CoStar, but that's really more for commercial, real estate. And the MLS numbers tend to be, a little skewed and higher even,
Yeah,
so I think that's also.
It's listed slightly lower than, Zillow.
Correct.
It's not a big gap, it's like definitely like being a 5% gap.
Right, and mostly, I mean, this doesn't take into account like naturally occurring affordability, which just tends to happen in neighborhoods. This is more like, frankly, a lot of the landlords that are listing on MLS, they're taking housing vouchers and things, which naturally inflate rent to begin with. So that's probably the discrepancy, one of like, there's just not a lot of studios in the area, but the ones that are higher priced because they're pulling the data from MLS.
Nice to have another developer for you.
And so you might see the occasional posting on Facebook
Yeah,
from a realtor for apartments. Every time I see them, like, there's no way you better pay. I think the last one was like 1,600 for a 2-bedroom. It's crazy.
Oh, my landlord that bought, my building actually listed it for higher, so, yeah, I need to go higher.
Yeah, I've heard people are asking much higher than this.
1750 was what my old apartment was listed for.
For 2 bedroom.
1750 for a 2-bedroom that does not have, central AC. And we also had a rodent problem, which is why I don't live there anymore.
And was it utilities included or not?
No, the utilities were not
So
included.
17,
That's high.
That's
No
very
AC
high.
and
And for context, when I lived there, it was 1251. And then when we moved out, it was 1750 for the next tenant, so I feel really bad for the next tenant. Hopefully they're not in here in the room right now. If you are in the room, I'm sorry.
we can go to the next one. So these are the area median incomes for, per household in Chicago. And this I took from the city tables, which, Chicago is running, it'll be effective as of next year. The affordable, sorry, I just call it zero. Affordable requirements ordinance. And these are the tables that they're gonna follow. So every developer coming into the neighborhood has to follow these tables. And these are the AMIs listed. So, you know, depending on your family size and your income, you will qualify for these units. So this is what determines your eligibility.
But
The
this is
area,
for the whole city?
yeah,
no. These are for Chicagoland,
Right.
Chicago.
Okay.
which is an issue because
This
median
is an issue.
median income for the city of Chicago is 76,000 a
It's
year.
higher than our
This
neighborhood.
includes Naperville and Joliet. That's how big the circle is. But so they're using that 84,000 figure.
Yeah, I did see your median in 76 for McKinley Park in your study.
So when something says you can apply when your income has to be 80% AMI, what does that mean?
I mean, so this is why it's also important for developers to establish that, because like I said before, depending on the funding, you get to set those rules. So we as developers really look into neighborhoods and we look at the median incomes, and so we make sure we have enough 50% units. And like in our new development that we're gonna build soon in Edwardsville, we had to add the 80% units because people have higher incomes there. So we want to make sure that people from the community are able to get into one of these units. So we had to literally write them. That goes in underwriting. And that's so important, and that's a great question. Because if, whatever deal, happens, like if they only have, well, we only want 40% or 50%, then that restricts the amount of people that can apply.
I guess my question is, if, Eduardo gets what is the thing, builds his houses, right? And then, he says,
He says 80%.
He says the only people who can buy it are people who are in the 50% AMI, that means that they can't make more than, 60 grand in a 4 household
Yeah.
For one person, yeah.
for one person?
Yeah, so this is the household size.
Yeah, so there's 4 of us in my house, so.
So yeah,
4 of us in my house.
495.
The 4 of us
At
can't make more than 60,000 in order to apply for that house. Okay.
Yeah, so
Is that
you're,
right?
What, 50 said 50%.
Oh, 50, okay, I was thinking 80 still.
50.
So, yeah, you're correct.
so I've also brought some data to kind of put some things in context specific to McKinley Park. So maybe I can go through that and we can take some questions together.
Of course.
So first up, so there are programs that are affordable housing for sale, and there are programs that are affordable housing for rent. We usually talk about the renters, right? We talk about the renters a lot more. And so for most city programs, they're targeting people between 30 and 60% of AMI. So something I want to point out is this number right here is 2 adults working full-time at Chicago's minimum wage.
Right.
All right, so I want to point out right here that we are talking about working families. We are not talking about free riders. We're talking about working families who still can't afford a decent place to live. So that's 2 adults working full-time with 1 kid, right? So Eduardo's program, however, those are for sale. Those are going to be targeting families up to 140% of median income. And the city, instead of actually income qualifying the buyer for those, for the missing middle program, they're just saying this is what you have to sell it for.
Yes, with a little bit of nuance, actually.
Yeah.
They're placing a cap per unit, based on that 140% rate. So for example, what that means is that you can't sell a unit.
Speaking, everybody at home can hear you.
Only certain units.
You can't sell any unit at all, for more than just under $450,000. Now, if you have a 2 flat, in theory, you could stack that and sell it for $890,000. But obviously, 1, no one's gonna pay for that, at least yet, in McKinley Park. And 2, that's not the goal of what we're trying to do. So it's targeting that 140% rate of affordability per unit, but there is actually no sales cap on the product. In theory, once you look at the 2 flat.
So what is the restriction on?
The restriction is on the per unit. So the restriction is on per unit. So for example, a single family home, you couldn't sell it for more than rounding up under 450,000.
So that's the only restriction?
Correct. Yes, because you don't have to, there's no income restriction on who can buy a home.
Right.
So like if you're applying for an apartment in a LIHTC, low income housing tax credit development, there is that income restriction. You have to be under 60,000 to qualify for that apartment, right? For a family of 4, 50% AMI. In the home ownership model, they're targeting and they're setting the prices based on 140% AMI, but there's no income restriction on who can buy homes. Which is where someone like myself is interested in working with community to make sure that folks that are local are aware of the opportunity and are, ready to be homeowners by the time the project is completed.
So let's look at some McKinley Park specifics. So,
It's nice, folks, otherwise I have to take them home. It's nice, otherwise I have to take them home.
That's true. Yeah, and Lonnie's got a sweet tooth. Don't send him home with all the brownies. Or me. I don't have a sweet tooth. I know. So to kind of drive home the point, a lot of different things are called affordable housing. So one of the reasons that McKinley Park hasn't gotten a lot of attention about affordable housing is because we do still have mom and pop landlords who rent below these income thresholds. Like, if you know somebody, you can still get an apartment around here for like $1,200-1,300, right? So that's part of the reason there hasn't been a lot of attention on our area. Another reason is simply we don't have that many places to build. Like, most of our land is already built out, so that also impacts what we can do. But a couple other things that are affordable housing are in units in big buildings. Some of them have to be set aside. That's the affordable requirements ordinance. Talk more about that in a second. There's also single room housing, which includes cooperative homes where maybe you live in a really big house with 10 other people. You all have your own room and you share the kitchen and make meals together. Like, that's also a form of affordable housing. There is both government and nonprofit subsidized housing. So think about like maybe some of the Resurrection Project housing in Pilsen. And then also starting April 1st, you will be allowed to build auxiliary dwelling units. And some of those units will be designated affordable under the ARO. So what that means, for example, like if you live in a 2-flat, all right, you could theoretically build out your basement or your attic for another dwelling unit, right? If you do more than one dwelling unit on a property, one of them has to be registered under the ARO, which means won't be these income qualified. But you, as the landlord, as the owner occupied applicant, still get to decide who lives there. They're just putting a cap on what you can charge. So we do have these 2 large projects that are gonna bring ARO units. So this is the project that's going in next to Mariano's. And then this is the one that's going in on Pershing. We don't have the final number of units for either of these, but let's just, for the sake of easy math, show that each one of them is going to be 200 units. 20% of each of them have to be set aside to be income restricted.
Was the project on the left approved, and what's the timeline? Because I haven't heard anything about it.
Yes, the project on the left made it through Plans Commission. We went through zoning review. Oh gosh, what was that? That was like late spring.
It was really hot, but then it was.
It wasn't really hot, you're right. But I want to point out, these are also, so this one is going to be condos. So, yes, but they'll be for sale. So these are going to be homeowner affordability programs, and then these are going to be rentals. So those are going to be rental affordability programs. So we are going to be getting some of both as these projects come online. And then people ask, like, how do I apply for an AR unit? This is copy. I don't expect you to be able to read this, but it is, you can Google it. It's on a city website. You fill out, you meet the landlord, you fill out the form with the landlord, you go through their regular application process, and they do have to verify your income. And if they say yes, they tune it to a city office where they double check, yeah, if they qualify, and then you get your apartment. So a lot of people have questions about, like, who is this for? And the reality is that anybody who's income qualified can walk in off the street and apply for these apartments. You don't have to get on like a CHA waiting list or anything crazy like that.
Yeah, question, when the property manager lists an ARO unit on Zillow or some other third-party website, are they required to put in the Zillow description, this is an ARO, or is it just kind of up to them?
I think they just list the price, but don't quote me on that. And I will say, for some of these big buildings, they are allowed to say which apartments it's gonna be. So for example, like if you're in an ARO unit, your neighbor might have granite countertops and you have Formica. But you're still in the same building, you get the same location. And like, so they're allowed to do things like that, but they're not allowed to like single you out in that kind of way.
Yeah, and we like to, engage with the community to let them know what the leasing process is gonna be. So definitely pay attention to that, because we don't list anything on Zillow or anything like that. It's just like, we have a sign, we talk to the village about sharing the information that we're accepting applications, and then you will then be referred to the department. So pay attention to when as the development progresses.
Absolutely. So this is some data about McKinley Park too, because I want to kind of set it in context. So this is a lot of numbers. If you're not a numbers person, I'll do my best to verbalize and answer all your questions. I see my favorite not numbers person back there. But to point out, one of the things, McKinley Park, well, yes, we have definitely seen changes in our rental and our housing market. So at our housing for sale market. So I'm not here to ignore that, but I also want to set it in context because we're doing a lot better than the rest of the city. And there's some reasons why that are really particular to the way our housing is, the way our housing was built. And so also as we, for ourselves going forward, think about, well, how do we get more affordable housing? It pays to look at like, why are we changing slower than the rest of the city? And how do we do more of that? All right, so that's what I want to get out of this data. So the first thing you'll see here is that 60% of us live in multifamily buildings and 50% of us live in 2 to 4 flats. So, and most of those are still owner occupied. And basically what that means that if you're renting from somebody who bought that building 20 years ago, it might be paid for, it's definitely at a lower payment than they have today. They can afford to rent at a lower rate because their expenses are lower. So that's one of the things, because our market moves slower because we have long-term homeowners. We also have long-term homeowners who support renters for life, right? Most of us know somebody who's been in their apartment a decade or more. It's really common around here. And this home ownership and these small buildings that a family could buy and live in over time is one of the things that keeps that going. And you can see, like, most of our units are smaller, 2 to 3 bedrooms, right? We always need more family units, family-sized units, and that's something we're advocating for with all of these developments. We need 3 bedrooms, we need 3 bedrooms, please. But also something I want to point out is the size of our households. So the middle column is the city average, and this is McKinley Park. Our households are a lot bigger. So we really, really need, how many of you know somebody where you have a multi-generational family and abuela sleeps in the dining room? Or the youngest child sleeps in the dining room, depending on your family dynamic, right? All right, because we have these homes like the Workers' Cottage, which is one of the iconic housing types here, was Chicago's original affordable housing, and we have lots of them. And some of them have been added on to over the years. Maybe somebody finished an attic or finished a basement, but like this is our housing stock, how it's happened. It's one of the reasons we continue to have affordability is because they started out affordable, and that has to do, even though things are older and they need repairs, but existing housing stock is still a lot cheaper than new. Unfortunately, like the price of a 2x4 and the price of labor is the same anywhere in the city. It costs you the same to build. And so builders want to put it where they're going to make the most money. That's not here. Right? And so like, how do we change that? How do we get what we need without having things we don't want imposed on us? So the fact that our households are bigger is a really big deal. We need larger homes, but we need them to be built in a way that our regular people can afford them. And the other thing, this is one of the other things that's really unique here. That is almost a 70% home ownership rate. Okay, the city average is 45. And that's one of the reasons those homeowners, those legacy homeowners, also keep our renters stable. So as we think about how do we maintain affordability for the long term, we should also be thinking about how do we build more mom and pop landlords, because you have to live with that person. So you're not going to pick somebody who's a jerk, right? You're going to pick somebody you want to live with. You're going to pick a nice neighbor. And also you're not going to put them out to make another $100 a month, because then you have to change your social dynamics, right? So how do we build more mom and pop landlords? How do we build more housing that allows for that?
I also want to point out your vacancy is pretty impressive. Yeah, like people in this community want to stay in the community, and there's not much.
Well, and specifically here, if it's vacant, it's probably caving in. Well, I mean, let's be real. We do have a lot of older homes, and most of them,
There's a few that need.
yeah, like there's one across the street from me where the foundation's leaning in both directions. So
That could be it.
yeah. I would not say, we have very, very few habitable vacant buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then this is the other interesting I want to get to. I know, as like the demographics of the neighborhood has shifted, income has too. So, let's be real about that. But also want to point out, so it is true that, half of the neighborhood now makes the city median income. But remember, our households are bigger. So you might be making that money and you could be taking care of twice as many people with that money very easily. But the other thing is that the next largest group is this second quartile. This is our working class. These are your camareras and cleaning ladies and people who are working in factories and doing all the jobs that need to be done and no one sees. These are some of the most important people in the city. And so as we think about affordability, we need to be thinking about also how do we remain mixed income, which is really hard. How do we preserve that affordability for the people, because these are our long-term residents. These are people on Social Security, people with, fragile social situations, and they're probably running from a mom and pop. So again, how do we preserve so that those who have more are taking care of those who have less and not, and still, you can still make a buck and do that, right? And so how do we continue to make that possible in the way that we build our house? So we do have more naturally occurring affordable housing than just most of Chicago, but that doesn't mean that we're immune to change. And so like the stuff that I just showed you is kind of why we have that, right? And it has to do with legacy ownership, with having a lot of older homes, with having a lot of DIYers. And so these are some maps produced by Metropolitan Planning Council that show how things are changing over the city. So this first map is for the typical renter at Chicago's median income. So remember that is also McKinley Park's median income, but our households are larger. And so you can see in 2000, all of McKinley Park was in the group spending 15 to 19% of income on rent. But then over here, whoops, we've shifted. So everyone is still, the average is still under 30% on rent, but it's gone up a lot. So can somebody hit the next one? Thanks. This map represents can the average income in a neighborhood get the average apartment in that neighborhood? So it's a little bit different. So you see that there's a lot more red on this map, especially on the north side and also on the far south side. But again, we're pretty stable. You see exactly what you saw on the last map, which is that we went from under 20% of income to under 30% of income. So most of us are still considered affordable, but it has shifted. And then one more. And then this is, I thought I brought this one out, but this is the change in rents. So you can see where this shows that beside of McKinley Park, east of Damen staying about the same, and then west of Damen, next closer to the park, increasing significantly. So on the one hand, it's definitely a citywide problem, and we're doing better in London, but doesn't mean it's not our problem. It is definitely our problem. It's happening to people. But when I saw these maps, I was like, man, I knew what was going on, but like we're the last outpost. It's pretty crazy. So that's also why we're seeing more interest in people moving here. So let me stop there. Oh, that was a lot of stuff. That's fine. So that's the end of the presentation, but I know that like people have questions and comments and experiences, and so happy to take any more of those.
Yeah, I do have one last thing I was wondering about just for people here. So I'll start with an anecdote. When my roommate and I were moving out of our apartment that we had been priced out of, a neighbor from the building next to us asked us, like, oh, who is moving into your apartment now that you're gone? Is it gonna be Section 8? And I said, no, because the people that bought our apartment are trying to make more money off us. But then like the guy asked us like, oh, I hope it's not Section 8 people moving into your own full apartment. So then if you wonder like, is there any kind of like mass, like opposition against Section 8 residents? And also like, how many Section 8 residents actually exist in this neighborhood? Because the guy that lived next to us seemed to think that like there would be a problem.
That's a long-term fear, and a lot of it's racially motivated. So the reality is, there is no CHA Section 8 housing in McKinley Park.
Yes.
There is some in Bridgeport. For people who have a housing voucher, you are never going to know, and it's nobody's business.
Yeah.
I am only aware of 2 apartments in the whole neighborhood that are rented with a voucher, but that's just because somebody told me that was their situation. Section 8 renters are just like anybody else. Some of them are great, some of them are terrible, but that's just like anybody else, right? And so, and I think the thing that I personally find hard about that is that those apartments, sometimes those vouchers pay more than market rate, and they can actually drive payments up for other renters. That's happened in Bronzeville a lot.
I didn't know that was a thing that happened.
Yeah, it is a thing that happened because they're using the tables for the whole city and not rent for our neighborhood to decide what that voucher is worth.
Yeah.
So I think personally, I would have more fear, ironically, of gentrification through vouchers than of who is moving in.
That's interesting. I
Yeah.
had no idea that was a possibility. I just assumed that the people that jack my rent would have preferred a non-Section 8 tenant because they would want someone to pay the most.
That's probably true. Most landlords do. There's a lot of hoops you have to jump through to take Section 8.
Yeah.
And also because we have a lot of older buildings, it could be a significant investment on the part of the landlord to meet all those requirements to be able to take the voucher. Yeah.
Is it just like really specific, like requirements of building features, like, oh, you have to have this many square feet, you have to have like this much ventilation, like.
It's
things like
really
that?
specific. It's like your bathtub faucet has to work this way, and your thermostat must work this way, and like it's, you probably know more about it.
Absolutely, even your lock, like locks, we always get things for.
Yeah, they're really, really specific things.
Yeah.
What else? What else do people want to know?
Yeah, I guess I do have a question for the developer.
Yeah.
Like,
I got the volatility now. You shut up.
For a developer, like if you have one standard, like Chicago-sized parcel plan, and 25 by 125 piece of land, would it make more sense financially for you to build a single family and sell that? Or would it make more sense financially for you to build a 3-flat and sell that?
It depends where, right? Because I think Kate made the point earlier today of, it costs the same to build any house or any 2-flat in Logan Square as it does in McKinley Park.
Yeah.
That same single family home can sell for upwards of $1 million in Logan Square. I can't recall the numbers. I did look at the market here. It's not near that much in McKinley Park, right? For all the reasons that we just reviewed.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more nuanced than just like, oh yeah, 3-flat's going to give me more money in theory, but also it actually costs a lot to build. And so there may be a situation in some neighborhoods where it's not worth what it costs to build a 3-flat, and you're actually losing money if you do that. So it depends.
Yeah, that question, like the reason I was asking that question is because the new housing that I do see being built in McKinley Park just over the last 10 years, it seems to be mostly single family homes. Like you go down Pershing.
That is a zoning problem.
Oh, my bad.
No. That is a zoning problem, and that is, so the maps, these maps were produced as part of a citywide cohort that Eladio and I are part of, the Metropolitan Planning Council, to look at like, how do we build more housing? How do we revitalize business corridors? How do we do some of these things? And they're looking at it through the lens of zoning. So this is a long-term thing that we would like to address, and the ADU ordinance, the accessory dwelling units, will change that. We'll change that because now you will be allowed, if you live in the house, to build out your attic or your basement and rent it to somebody. And then with a few more hoops, you might be allowed to build a coach house. So that's gonna change a lot of things, but one of the things we like to point out to people is zoning, west of Damen, okay, McKinley Park is RT4, which means that you can build a 4-flat, up to a 4-flat by right on a lot without a zoning change. East of Damen, it's mostly RS3, which is why you're seeing McMansions, because you have to get a zoning change to build anything other than a single family. So that is a bigger thing that we want to change. And so that's why you're seeing those McMansions, like that place on 35th Street that took months to sell.
Yeah, and I mean, just to add to that, like I live in a 2-flat, we own a 2-flat, but it was zoned as a single family. So then when we were going to do renovations on it, we had to go through a whole lot, but we had to get it rezoned to be able to do some of the renovations because we had all the limitations around only square footage for a single family. So
Yeah.
it's messy.
And also just because our homes are older, like there's a lot of anomalies in the neighborhood. So we'll say if you find yourself in one of those situations, we can try to help you. Most likely, we're gonna tell you which public official you need to go talk to, but we can help with that. And the struggle is real. I will tell you, I'm waiting for the ADU ordinance to pass so that I can fix my roof. Because I have an existing coach house that counts against my square footage, and I can't actually bring my roof to coach because I would raise it an inch and create more square footage, so it's a whole thing. So.
I did have a question just around, I'm just wondering what you all are seeing in terms of support, like capital support, financial support for being able to do affordable housing over the next few years? Because it seems to me like we're not in a super friendly environment for being able to, create affordable housing. And I'm just curious about what you all are experiencing on the developer end here.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult. Even us as my organization, as a lender that lends other nonprofit developers to build affordable housing, due to the market, the interest rates, and you're trying to fund it, as a private developer. It's extremely hard to get capital. I know the city is doing some efforts, like subsidizing and helping developers in that way. But yeah, we reach out to foundations a lot, private banks, and it's a little bit helps, but when you're building a $20 million development, it's extremely hard without tax credit.
Agree 100%. I think the saving grace with the low-income housing tax credit program, which is administered by the federal government, and by the way, I hate the name, but that's a separate conversation. The saving grace there is that very wealthy people like to buy those tax credits because it saves them other taxes. And so while generally the climate is not friendly to big cities right now, there is a benefit to folks to have those types of programs around. So preservation tax credits, low-income housing tax credits, all those kind of federal tax credit programs I don't see necessarily going anywhere. But I think the bigger issue is just the uncertainty in capital markets and borrowing and that kind of stuff that is critical for these projects.
Yeah, the good news is the big, beautiful bill didn't increase the low tax credit rate, so it's looking positive, I think. Slowly but surely, people are more understanding of the need for affordable housing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So on that note, a couple of events. Tomorrow, Tio's Tamales is going to be offering tamales to anyone whose finances have been impacted by all the things happening by SNAP, by immigration enforcement, et cetera. And if you know somebody who, for example, has not left their house in a while, you you can make arrangements to get their tamales to them, if you're willing to do that. So please, it's a way to look out for our neighbors. Also tomorrow is the open house for the bus priority corridor study. That's going to be at the Gage Park Field House, specific to the Western bus, but they're looking at several citywide corridors. And it's an opportunity to set some new norms for what bus stops should be like not freezing and shoveled and, basics of not getting run over and maybe having a place to like park your bike next to the bus stop. So all those things, this is your opportunity to talk about them. And then Friday night, we're going to have the South Chicago Bites Small Business Crawl. So I hope you've seen this on social media by now. We sent it out in the newsletter as well. A group of our small businesses have banded together to try and get some traffic into their storefronts, but also to support the rapid response team that has been looking out for our neighbors for the last several months. So you can start at either State Rep Ma's office or at One City Tap, pick up your bingo card. Getting one stamp from a business gets you a free beer at One City Tap. Getting 4 stamps gets you a free t-shirt. The t-shirts are really cool. They're really cool. So please come out and support our small businesses tomorrow. And then you have an event this weekend too, right?
Next weekend.
Next weekend. Go ahead, tell us about it.
I was not. Wait.
But you made pretty hats. They look great.
It's good. We just had one last Sunday. That was Sunday Loco, and then in 2 weeks we're having Moonlit Market. It's gonna be also like an open mic. I think that one's organized by an event planner called Nova on Instagram, Nova the God. I think he has PRSVPs online, and then he's doing $5 tickets at the door. There's gonna be like art vendors, food vendors, and then performers.
And this is in the space next door to Trino's, right?
Yeah, from
Okay.
4 to 9 p.m. So that's on the 29th.
So that's the Saturday after Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Okay, so the Saturday after Thanksgiving, next door to Trino's, what time?
From 4 to 9.
All right.
Yeah.
Great, excellent. And also mark your calendars for the MPDC holiday party at Mars.
December 8th.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Okay, December 18th at Mars, and we'll have our usual festivities. Ugly sweaters are very welcome. Kids are welcome. Bring your spouse, bring your kids, bring your appetite, and we look forward to seeing you here. Great.
Thank you.